So I don't know if maybe you heard that in the background. I was just came across this Chris Rock stand up where he says, interesting quote, only women, children, and dogs are loved unconditionally, but a man is only loved only under the condition that he can provide something. Now, I just want to talk about just this subject matter at case. I'm not saying women don't have their own uh, issues that they struggle with every day. I see single moms out there who are hustling and grinding, doing everything they can to provide for the children, and I see double standards that are detriments to them. Like if a guy sleeps around, he's not considered the man. A woman sleeps around, well, she's considered a slut and all these other nasty derogative terms. Um, so I mean, there women do have their things. I mean, like sure, a man could go to jail also for not paying child support, but then that still leaves the woman in with with herself to take care of them if it's an ugly situation. Um, and that can also be another thing where a man can also be at a disadvantage too because he's trying to provide for the kids. Maybe he doesn't make as much. I don't know, uh, and he's still going to it's pauper's jail basically. But like I said, I want to focus on that quote there, and just from my aspect, my experience through my life. Um, just looking at from a man's standpoint and point of view, it's a no-win situation for a man. Uh, if a man doesn't have anything, if he doesn't have a lot of money, if he doesn't have possessions, if he doesn't have materials to show off, to it's hey, look what this hard work has paid off. He has very little. He just gets by. Um, Maybe he has like I said, the money just to pay for his bills. Doesn't have really his own house. Maybe he has to share an apartment or some place to live in. It's kind of like me right now. I don't have my own house, and I'm at the age of 30. But I mean, I have the money to pay for my bills, my necessities. So I mean, I'm blessed and thankful for that. Looking at it that aspect, a woman might not see that as attractive. I think it's unfortunate because I feel there's other things that I've done also, and I don't want to get on here tooting my own horn to try to sell myself or that I'm so great. But there's some things that I've done for others that have made me, hey, I know I have a lot to provide, but because I don't have the materialistic things of a big house and a the ideal thing where society probably thinks I should be having this uh big house, living with a wife, two, three kids, and a dog running around in our big front yard. And I still don't have that. And the position I'm in, I mean, I'm working part time right now and going to school part time. It's not really something that's going to draw a lot of takers in or candidates of women. Um, it's unfortunate. I don't think it's not fair, but at the same time, and it depresses me sometimes. It's part of that is part of what my depression is because I would like to find a nice woman. I'm not saying it's just I look at it because I don't think it's women's fault. I think it's just society in general. Now look, and I already explained it from that aspect of how it's already unfair for a guy to find maybe a companion that he might be interested in and she might not return the same interest simply because he doesn't have the things to quote unquote provide for her, but she'll go and look for another guy that has the money. That's where we go now to the guy that has the money. Okay, he's loved because he can provide for the woman, but is he really loved? And now that puts him in the spotlight here. Is he really loved for who he is, or is he just loved because he was able to provide something, provide materialistic things, provide uh, paper that is used to purchase and buy things and put a house over your head? I mean, I thought real love, it's like, when people get married, it's through sickness and health and for better or worse. But that let's say there is a man who has a goal too. Um, right now he's down here, and then maybe 5 years later he's up here. But at the time though, maybe he meets a girl that he likes and he's interested in romantically. He's down here, but she doesn't see him that way because, well, financially he's not off yet. Better off, well off. Um, maybe by that time when he is up here, because of, and now this is maybe where it gets a disadvantage for a woman. She might turn around and be like, "Oh, well, look what he made himself. He's really doing well. Maybe he has his own business, and he's really well off. He's not gonna go hungry." By that time, though, then the guy's gonna turn around and see that, well, she only likes me for, excuse me, for my possessions or my material, and maybe some men go for that. But then you look at it and sometimes that's probably what a lot of divorces are, obviously, anyway. 50% of marriages end up in a divorce, and then a lot of it probably ends up with financial reasons. And that quote rings so true. A man is loved under only the condition that he can provide something. And it's just a catch-22 situation because, you're involving money, you're involving possessions and materials and all those physical things that might not actually be able to live up to the emotional things like love and understanding and a good support and just a shoulder to lean on during troubled times or where you need a uh, someone to turn to as a safety net. And I could go off because I mean I like I said I have my own personal struggles and trying to find a relationship with a woman, and I actually would have several suitors, but then, I don't want to get in their personal life on here on YouTube, but they're facing uh or in certain situations that they've gotten themselves into that I think it would just be it would get me into like a conflicting situation. Nothing that would get me in a like serious jeopardizing my health or my personal life where I would, get shot or something point blank. Uh, but no, it's an interesting quote that I just came across last night where a man or excuse me, where a woman, children and dogs are loved unconditionally, but a man is loved under the condition that he can provide something. It's just something to think about, and feel free to talk amongst yourselves in the comment section here. Uh, I'd love to hear your responses and your takes. I just think as a society we put so much on each other. There was a guy that actually did make a response too that I made a comment, and he's about men need to, you know, he was more or less saying that it's time for men to stop acting like boys, and it's to a point I agree with. I mean, obviously, I mean you don't want to be uh, 30 or 40 and still unemployed and not trying to do better yourself and be a contributing member of society. But at the same time, sometimes maybe there's other things that are well, there is like say a guy is trying to better himself. He works part-time or full-time and he's trying to get by. And maybe that a woman, no matter how much he does right, and he might be romantically interested in her, well, that's just not good enough, and she won't give him a chance because, well, he's not going to be able to support her. And there's unfortunately women out there like that, and I feel like I know one personally, but I mean I don't know the situation that is might be like that, uh, where it's the guy's doing everything. And I just think there's more pressure to a guy because if he doesn't like provide money for the family, then he's deemed a deadbeat, a bum, a loser, and that's another thing that's thrown into the equation. So it's just so much to talk about, and I think it's just I don't think people sit down and actually talk about these issues that are going on today. It's really hard sometimes. And then sometimes you're wondering, even if you're making great strides, you're sitting there wondering, am I really making a difference? What am I really contributing to society? What am I doing and contributing to myself? How am I better myself or the people around me or my family? And and then if even if you are in a situation where you're providing for a woman and kids, you still think about, well, am I happy? And then you turn around and think, am I happy with myself? I'm miserable all the time. I'm, I'm tired. And that's adulting. I understand that. But it was just an interesting quote that made me think about something last night on a personal level, and then I was able to expand on it since then to the point where I'm talking about it today. Like I said, feel free to let me know what you think uh, about that quote. I do. There is a point in me where it's like from a man's standpoint, I think this is an issue where men have it hard. I'm not saying we have it harder than women or women have it harder than us. This just is the topic that I'm talking about. This general topic right here. It's not about who has it harder or not. I'm just saying in this instance, a man has it really hard because it's a thing where not only does if he wants to get in a relationship, not only does he have to provide for himself now, he has to provide potentially for a woman and maybe kids if he wants to produce offspring with her. But the question is she okay? Does she love him enough to, hey, even if he doesn't make six figures a year, I love him no matter what? Or is she going to be materialistic and, be the kind of stay-at-home mom that pawns her kids off to the daycare and, just does what she wants and goes about how she wants to do her life while the husband's out there trying to, uh, you know, provide for the family and her. Uh, I kind of went off a little bit, but it's just shooting off at the mind when I shooting from the hip. Nothing was scripted. That said, as always, I'm Nam, and always use your noodle.